Hey everyone, and welcome to a story where fate collides with fantasy, literally. Imagine waking up in a world you once read about, but this time you're not the heroes. Meet Saul, a reserved young man with memories of another life, a grumpy mentor, and a quiet village nestled on the edge of disaster. But as ancient legends stir and forgotten creatures take flight, Saul discovers that even side characters have a destiny. Grab your gear, because the mist is lifting, the apocalypse is coming, and our journey is just beginning. Saul's fist tightened as he sank into deep contemplation. It felt futile. He couldn't recall the faces of his parents or even his own from his prior life. The only fragments that lingered were sensations of life itself and obscure glimpses of the novel. Why that face? Looks like you're trying to take a crap. Break's done, bellowed a towering man clad in knight's garb, his ginger hair and olive complexion unmistakable as he all but yanked Saul toward the training ground. Nearly 3 months had passed since the Sebet incident. Arthur had already dispatched warnings of the coming apocalypse to different kingdoms to help protect their populations, and simultaneously began his own countermeasures. He appointed Sir John Helgleam as Saul's mentor, the highest-ranking knight available. However, his demeanor was far from what one would expect of a chivalrous knight. Cynthia began her mage training upon discovering her vast mana reserves. Though she spoke sparingly, she formed a quick and natural friendship with both men. "This will be the final lesson I give you, so take it seriously. Understood?" barked Saul's mentor. "Yes, sir." Louder, Saul pressed his lips into a line and shouted, "Yes, sir." Before drawing his sword. By the time he returned to his room, fatigue clung to his limbs so heavily that his legs gave way and he collapsed onto the bed. Just then, gentle hands slid over his eyes. Guess who? It was unmistakably Cynthia, but Saul decided to play along. "Grandma Anne, is that you?" he replied, barely suppressing a chuckle. Grandma Anne had once looked after Saul, always kind and quick to give him sweets whenever he was down. Cynthia gave him a playful whack on the head and pouted, "Do I look like a grandma to you?" Saul laughed and rubbed the spot she'd hit. "Hand me some water, please. I don't think I can move. Sir Helgleam worked you hard again, huh?" "Poor you," she said, giving him a sympathetic pat on the shoulder. Heading over to the jug, instead of pouring the water into a glass, she took a mouthful and walked back toward Saul, cheeks puffed and a soft flush on her face. As Cynthia neared, Saul began to stammer and his face turned bright red. "Well, what are you doing?" he asked, inching away. She leaned in until their noses were nearly touching, then swallowed the water and burst into laughter. "You seriously thought I was going to do it?" She giggled. "Shut up." "What the hell was that? I came across it in a book I read as a child." "What on earth were you reading?" he exclaimed, turning even redder. At that moment, the door flung open and in strode Prince Arthur. "You two seem awfully peppy despite training. Maybe I should recommend your masters crank up the intensity," he said, eyes gleaming. Saul and Cynthia's mouths hung open. "I'm kidding," he chuckled, then added, "Still, it's better to be overly prepared than caught off guard." They both nodded in agreement. "Anyway, it's time you depart for the Mist Village," Arthur announced. "Yes, sir," they replied enthusiastically. "Oh, and one last instruction, any survivors you find should be brought back to Calypso Kingdom. We've established a portal to Sebet. Apparently, Sebet's capital devised a way to submerge their entire city. They believe they'll be safer underwater for now. Yes, SIR, they echoed once more. Arthur covered his ears with a smirk, amused by their youthful spirits, though he knew these moments wouldn't last forever. Cynthia and Saul finally arrived at the misty village. Despite the nausea twisting in Saul's gut, the long teleport had been worthwhile. Grandpa Carl, it's brother Soul. The children yelled excitedly, leading the newcomers into their worn-down little home. The wind whispered softly through the fading mist, bringing a chill that matched the rustic wooden house's atmosphere nestled in the forest. Saul's red lips curled into a broad smile as he absorbed every detail. Well, looks like little Saul is all grown up now. And what a stunning lady your girlfriend is, Carl remarked as he stepped out from the kitchen, dabbing his face with a tattered cloth. Saul's face turned scarlet as he glanced at Cynthia, who also blushed. Old man, she's just a friend, he protested. Carl smirked. That's what they all say. Saul rolled his eyes and handed out gifts to the children. I need some air, he muttered. At that, Cynthia began tailing him. Alone, Saul added firmly. Panting with effort, Saul made his way up the mountain. The breeze tousled his hair. As the foliage thickened, animal calls echoed more distinctly. He panted heavily, finally halting when a voice called out, "Hello there." It was the flaming bird watching him struggle. "Have you finished the prepa rations?" Saul asked between breaths. "Huh?" replied the bird. Regaining control, Saul asked again, "Have you finished preparing?" "For a great deity like me, it's child's play," the bird declared. Saul raised his eyebrows and pressed his lips together. I've erected a barrier strong enough to take 1,000,000 meteor strikes. Right, Saul replied, rolling his eyes. He then reached into his pocket. Take this, it's the scarlet stone. The gem gleamed a brilliant red. The avian creature stared in disbelief. No way, where did this come from? For a magnificent human like myself, it's nothing, Saul joked. Flames flared brighter in the phoenix's wings in annoyance. Saul quickly raised his palms. Hey, calm down. I found it in the Calypso kingdom. It was hidden behind the first king's portrait. I swiped it. Suddenly, ominous clouds gathered above, thunder growled, and a chill ran down Saul's spine. It's time for the first scenario, declared the phoenix. We have to return to the village. Now, Saul cursed under his breath. The phoenix sighed. Hold on. Clutching Saul by the shoulders, the bird soared through the shadow-covered forest, nearing the mist village, gales battered rooftops, making them tremble. At the doorstep of his home, Saul arrived just as a meteor pierced the clouded sky, crashing into the barrier with a fiery burst. The explosion was awe-inspiring. The villagers stood frozen, awed, and terrified by the unknown. Brother Saul, it's so scary. Are we going to die? Asked one trembling child. Nothing will happen. I'll save you. Yes, I promise I'll save you, Saul said, embracing the kids tightly and perhaps reassuring himself more than them. The villagers clung to one another in silence. Then a beam pierced the barrier and a humanoid figure with the head of a stag appeared. Humans, I am Zaraf the stag, the creature stated. We shall commence the tutorials. He paused with a frown. That's odd. The count is too high. Let's start with a simple sub-scenario first. A dialogue box then materialized before all of them. Scenario, kill at least one person here to pass difficulty. Reward, player status. The village immediately descended into chaos. What on earth is going on here? This is insanity. Why are we expected to obey your commands? The stag let out a mechanical chuckle before declaring, "I possess the power to execute every one of you. Complete the scenario or face death. Your deaths would ease a great burden from me." Fueled by wrath, a stocky man in his middle years charged at the stag, brandishing an axe. Saul attempted to restrain him, aware of the terrifying capabilities these beings held, but he was too late. "You humans never learn, do you?" The stag mocked as he snapped his fingers. Snap. Instantly, the man exploded, sending blood splattering in every direction. He ceased to exist, and a suffocating fear filled the room. Cough, cough, thick smoke choked the air as every house burned, flames devouring the village. As amid the chaos, some villagers turned on one another. "This is dull. I know how to make it interesting. How about a time limit?" proposed the pitiless stag. Suddenly, another screen materialized before them. A time limit has been set. Remaining time, 59:00:00. Only 1 hour. Saul was stunned by how little life seemed to matter in this storybook world. The village echoed with cries of agony and terror as people ruthlessly slaughtered each other. As Saul clutched the children in his arms, a group of villagers approached. "We deeply regret it, but please die," the group leader said, pleading with Saul. Everything had spiraled into madness. "Everyone calm down. Fighting won't help anyone. Please stop this," Saul implored them. But despite his words, the villagers charged. Saul refused to retaliate, fending them off just enough to protect himself. An axe suddenly slammed into his leg, eliciting a howl of pain. The group was torn apart amidst the chaos, and Carl scrambled to shield the children. "Please leave them alone. They're just kids. Take my life if you must," Carl begged, kneeling in surrender. "Fine, old man. One quick slice and it's over," said the attacker, raising his sword. Tears streamed down the frightened children's faces, but the sword never found its mark. Instead, the attacker collapsed, blood gushing from a sword that appeared as if from nowhere. "Don't you dare touch my family," declared Saul, drenched in blood. Carl and the children stood frozen in shock, while Cynthia kept back anyone who neared them. Saul was powerless to change their nature. Neither Carl nor the kids could take a life, even in self-defense. The time seemed to slow, and then a notification appeared. Remaining time 00:00:00. That's it. All souls that did not commit murder will now ascend to the sun, the stag announced, about to snap his fingers. In this fictional world, the sun represented the source of all life, the final destination for the dead. "Wait," someone shouted. Suddenly, 3 radiant angels descended from the skies. Only Cynthia appeared to understand what was unfolding. Her eyes revealed recognition. She knew one of them was her friend Uriel's. "We are the angels of Eden, and we come to guard these children," said the central angel, pointing to the trio of kids. Nowhere in the novel had angels ever volunteered to become guardians. But Saul's heart swelled with hope. There was a way to spare the children. One of the kids, the quietest among them, stepped forward. "Young one, would you accept me as your guardian?" The angel asked gently. The boy nodded slightly, his gaze fixed to the ground. The angel smiled warmly. "I am Barachiel, Archangel of Eden. I shall protect this child and grant him my blessing. From now on, he will be named Aaron." The other 2 angels, Jean and Aliner, offered their blessings to the remaining children, christening them Nero and Everett. The stag's smirk faded. "You little ones got lucky this time," he muttered darkly. "In this realm, stags lacked the right to harm a child of God. The three children had been spared. But fate was not as kind to Carl. His life force was slipping away. Saul and the children gathered close, desperately hoping for a miracle. Saul, please protect them, Carl rasped, each breath a struggle. I will, Saul whispered, choking on grief, unable to accept this reality. Grandpa Carl, don't leave us. The children cried, their faces soaked in tears. Only 5 individuals from the village had survived: Saul, Cynthia, Aaron, Nero, and Everett. Now we will commence the tutorial, declared the stag, void of any remorse. He continued, when you say status, a dialogue box will pop up displaying your stats, physical strength, speed, magic level, and the skills and abilities granted by your guardian. The skills or abilities conferred by a guardian are considered blessings, meaning they won't consume any of your personal magic. However, they do come with limitations and repercussions. Go on and try to open your status now. Status, came the collective call from everyone. At once, a dialogue box materialized in front of each person. Status. Phi 10 speed, 7 magic, 0 ability. You do not have a guardian yet atop the mountain peak. Saul's hair lifted gently with the breeze as he gazed back at the small village in the distance. Quietly beside him, the phoenix kept silent. Why am I so useless? I wanted to save them, but ended up causing even more deaths, Saul muttered, tears welling up and distorting his vision. With all your bold words earlier, I almost forgot you're still just a kid. Everyone slips up, even me. What matters is not lingering in regret, but focusing on the promising road ahead, replied the phoenix. They remained silent, watching the sunrise together. Inside Carl's house, everyone had gathered to discuss what to do next. The phoenix was now officially Saul's guardian, having granted him a power, not an extraordinary one, but to someone without magic like Saul, it was still impressive. We should get out of here for the time being, Saul said, glancing first at Cynthia and then slowly shifting his gaze to the children, a concerned look on his face. But are you sure it's safe to take the kids into the forest? Cynthia asked. We need to reach the Calypso kingdom as quickly as possible, Saul replied. Reaching the Calypso kingdom would ensure a temporary safe haven for the children, and they also needed to reunite with Arthur. It was going to be a long journey. Maybe other survivors are still somewhere nearby, Cynthia suggested. Saul looked over at the strewn corpses around them, and Cynthia, noticing his gaze, added, Sorry, that was a thoughtless suggestion. Suddenly, the door shattered, and a flaming bird burst into the room. Instantly, all eyes turned toward it. There's a barrier encasing the entire village, announced the phoenix. Everyone dashed outside to inspect it. Saul walked forward, tapping the seemingly empty air until his hand met the intangible wall. When Cynthia tried casting a spell, it failed. We need something stronger, she concluded. Aaron, try using your skill, Saul urged, hoping it might work. Aaron looked puzzled. Try shouting status, Cynthia prompted. The young boy seemed to understand. Phi 7 speed, 10 magic. A 17 ability Thorny Rose LV1. Saul felt a sting of jealousy. How could a child possess better stats than him? He was at a loss for words. It says I have something called Thorny Rose, but how do I activate it? Aaron asked. Just concentrate on using it, Saul advised, crouching down to meet the boy's gaze. Aaron shut his eyes, and a vine with thorns surged from the ground, piercing the barrier and tearing open a crawl-sized passage. One by one, the kids, Cynthia, and Saul squeezed through. The phoenix followed them joyfully through the gap. Though gods and demons were forbidden from interfering directly in scenarios, they were allowed to assist mortals subtly through their aura, bestowing them with unique powers. Everyone was stunned by the devastation below, but even more so by the realization that the entire mist village was now floating in the sky. Hovering in midair, an angry stag scolded them. "You humans are too hasty. Couldn't you wait for me to deliver the next scenario?" He went on, "Well, since you're already here, let's get started." The scenario: escape from the floating island difficulty. Reward 100 coins failure. Earning 100 coins was no small matter, just one of those was worth 1,000 gold in this world. What a jerk, Saul muttered inwardly, grappling to make sense of it all. Suddenly, the corpses lying about the village transformed into zombies and began shambling toward them. "Let's make for the bridge." "With our speed, we might just make it," said Saul, prompting everyone to bolt in that direction. Cynthia unleashed a spell that emitted a blinding light, slowing the zombies for a moment. The children led the way while Cynthia brought up the rear. As they neared the bridge, a massive, monstrous boar was already gnawing through it. "Brother Saul, the bridge, it's giving way," cried Everett, one of the three kids. "Turn back." "We can't risk crossing it," Saul responded. "The scenario difficulty has changed. Right arrow D." As everyone turned to Zareth, the stag, now visibly annoyed, he replied calmly, "You all rushed ahead, so now deal with it." "My apologies for arriving late," said another stag, this one crimson in color. "My name is Benigno, but feel free to call me Benny. I'm also a stag responsible for maintaining the scenarios. Zareth, I can't believe you've made a mess again." "Why is it always me who ends up fixing what you ruin?" Benny lifted his arm toward the bridge, and a delicate golden layer formed, linking the bridge with the ground below. "There you go, now you all can leave, but only 4 of you may cross at once," Benny announced, motioning toward the structure. Everyone exchanged looks. Saul had a vague strategy in mind, though he wasn't confident it would succeed. Saul's and Cynthia's gazes locked, both of them shaking. One of them was about to die.